Heroes Lawn Care is really just the umbrella for all 6 revenue streams. Small business that you can be successful with being absent. It's actually going to be at 250.
Welcome to Franchise Focus. A lot of home service businesses stay small because they're built around one truck and one owner. Heroes Lawn Care is designed to scale multiple crews, multiple services, and repeat revenue. Today, we're talking about how that works and what it takes from the owner. Today, Nikki Kimura from Horsepower Brands will break down what it means in real terms. So, welcome, Nikki. How did you get into franchising?
Yeah. I would say it's been about a 4-year journey for me with Horsepower Brands thus far. I actually been with Horsepower about May 4 years ago. So I guess we're coming up on that date here. So there better be a big celebration. Because it's like a decade in horsepower years essentially. But I was actually on the recruiting team before. So I would actually work with franchisees from Discovery Day on, where they'd come to Discovery Day, see what it's all about. And then I would talk to them one on one about what their hiring needs could be and help them find those pivotal roles as they open doors and then end up growing and scaling their business. So from there, I transitioned about 8 months ago to the franchise development side of things, or like they say, you got brought to the dark side. So I've been working directly with Heroes Lawn Care for franchise development now for almost 8 months. So that's kind of what's got me into franchising. My husband works for Horsepower in development. I had 2 brothers that worked for Horsepower. So it's kind of a family affair here.
I guess so. Well, that perspective of the recruiting, which I forgot about, that it's got to be very unique and very helpful for people that you can give a little inside view of
Yeah,
that before they decide to join, because that is always a concern for people, and that's
absolutely.
fantastic that Horsepower provides that support. That's a huge
Yes.
differentiator. So let's jump into what the core services are for Heroes, and then how people choose to expand.
Absolutely. So I would say, with Heroes Lawn Care, when you invest and decide to go all in with Horsepower and Heroes Lawn Care is really just the umbrella for all 6 revenue streams. So really dependent on where you fall within the, geography of the United States. You could be in
Hmm.
Nebraska like me, where I get hit with all 4 seasons, or you could be in Florida like you, where it's maintaining that fertilization and upkeep kind of on that monthly basis, kind of in that year round space. So, first off, most of our locations will kick it off doing weed and fertilization. That's where they're going to build up their subscriptions, their membership models that we have. And that's where we say they build up their reoccurring revenue. So, first and foremost, probably going to be in weed and fertilization. Again, based on geography, Arizona, they don't really have a need for weed and fertilization too much. So they actually kick it off with our
Right.
irrigation service line. So, first and foremost, fertilization and
Okay.
irrigation are our top 2 reoccurring revenue streams within Heroes. So once you're kind of building up both of those, it's really about assessing the vision of where you want your business to go, but then also keeping in mind what's coming down the pipeline for the next season. And so that's where we offer, not only we have Snow Squad. So Snow Squad is going to help keep our northern states operating in a year-round space. We also have Mosquito Legion, where nobody wants those pesky, critters around or buzzing around during your 4th of July holidays and stuff like that. So that's actually our 3rd largest reoccurring revenue stream, because we can really easily layer that onto our other services. And then we also have Duty Duty, which is pet waste removal. And so our brand team will help
Yeah.
advise when Duty Duty would be a good time to bring it on into a specific neighborhood, or maybe we pause and wait. So it really comes down to your vision of your business and how you want to launch those services. And then lastly, we have Heroes Landscape. And so landscaping is really going to make up about 50% of our business, just because those are kind of the higher price pointed jobs. It's, coming in and doing a retaining wall, a pool landscape, hardscapes, artificial turf, those types of things. They will all funnel into Heroes Landscaping. but we don't consider that one to be a reoccurring revenue space just because those jobs tend to be more of a project. So they have a start date and a stop date. So that kind of all compiles our 6 different revenue streams. We actually just launched our tree and plant health as well, and which will be funneled into the landscaping sector. But it's just an added service that you can provide again to take that one lead and really layer in those services to really build out that subscription.
To when you add on those other services, is it a whole different technician, whole different truck, or how's that
Yeah,
decision
great
process and how's
question.
that actually
So, yeah. So if you are going to be owner operator, so we offer 2 different types of ownership models. We have
okay.
semi involved, which we would never say semi absentee because we don't think in small business that you can be successful with being absent. And so we fully invest in being semi involved. But if you're semi involved, you're going to be bringing on a manager and one technician to open doors. Now, we'll kind of chat more about things on the owner operator side just because that's probably our preferred method. But again, we do have validators on both sides of the coin so that your candidate, our franchisee, could have more of a, I guess, a lay of the land on both sides so that they understand what it's really going to take to run the business. But ultimately, as an owner operator, you're going to open doors with one technician. And like I said, he's mainly focused on fertilization. But by coming to Heroes Academy for that 1 week of training before you open doors, not only is the owner going to attend, but we would highly encourage the technician to attend as well. So that way they're getting fully
Mhm.
immersed in all training for Heroes Lawn Care. But we don't ever expect anyone to like leave 1 week of training and know all there is to know about lawn care and landscaping and all the things. That's why we are considered a platinum preferred vendor of Site Ones. So we can really call on one of their agronomists. We have 85 agronomists across the United States that we have access to. So it's kind of like going back to like college and high school when you just cram all the information into your brain the night before the test, and then you go out to the property and meet with the homeowner and just kind of let them have all the information. But really, we just know where to go to find the information as we're building up that knowledge. Have all knowledge of all things. But really, ultimately, we would want them to be focused on building up that fertilization because when you're ready to execute irrigation, easiest people to go and launch your new revenue stream is going to be to your customers that you're already servicing. Ultimately, we want you to not only grow your territory like across, all the 600,000 people that you're servicing, but also to layer in those services so you make each lead really help you accrue like multiple service lines.
It's incredible. I mean, because some of the lines you have are one individual franchise, which I know they
Yes.
do well too. So yeah, no, I can really see how people can scale, if
Yeah.
they
On
so
that,
desire to get into the
throughout
space.
like throughout our onboarding service, like our onboarding time, we actually, encourage and have our franchisees really starting to build out those leads. Obviously, they're going to be with probably their friends, family, people that they go to church with in their own neighborhood. So that way, when they come to Academy, we're really helping them actually like create those leads so that when they open doors, I mean, they have a book of business ready to go rather than it's crickets when you open and you got to start from scratch. So through that onboarding process, we're helping them build up that lead, get those estimates going. So they're doing like hands-on training, but with people they're actually going to be servicing.
Okay. Let's talk about, lead generation. So you'll start with the low-hanging fruit, those but, is it typically driven by, marketing, Google, or
Yeah.
what kinda
Yeah.
networking, referral relationships?
Absolutely. So I would say it's all of those things. Obviously, with
Okay.
horsepower brands, we have a slew of support services that we have under our one umbrella. So our franchisees, we've met with them. We ask them like what is stopping you from really and truly just running your business, the day-to-day of your business, and some said it's marketing, some said it's recruiting, some are like I can't get out of, I don't want to make the spreadsheets to have the QuickBooks and all those things. So we
Mhm.
created support services. So that way our franchisees know maybe where their strengths are and maybe where their weaknesses lie. And so we want to help support them throughout those weaknesses so that they can really dive into our support services teams and really continue to just really focus on running their business. So, with that being said, marketing is one of those things. And so, when you are with a franchisor with a marketing system, we build out your Google business platform. And when we're creating your territory, we'll look at the MSA, so like marketing strategies in that area, because we want you to be able to funnel your money into your territory that you're servicing. And so that way you're not having to go into two separate MSAs. That really just spreads the money a little bit thinner. But like you said, you are a small business owner in your community. And so getting in touch with the Chamber of Commerce, HOAs, church groups, BNI groups, those types of things is going to be really important to the success of your business. Now, really letting the technician kind of run the jobs and, making the clover around that one particular house and putting up signs or door hangers is really important as well. But it really comes down to just being, what do we say, a hero in your community. So every community needs a hero. So why not be us?
Oh, that's great. So, competitive market, right? So, are most customers already getting the service and they're not happy,
Yeah.
which is not unusual, but,
Yeah.
and you're displacing them, or how's that work?
It's kind of twofold. I mean, we would say that smaller mom and pop locations are not able to do all of the things that one Heroes location is able to do, nor do they have the buying power that Heroes has. And so, again, with our Site One partnership, we are able to offer our franchisees tier 5 pricing on day one of signing with Heroes. So, that is the best pricing that they offer. So, you don't necessarily have to do as much discounting when you go onto a property. And that helps keep our margins kind of where we'd like them to be across all 6 service lines. Now, ultimately, you're going to have competition, but that's where, building that trust and rapport within your community, having those great, those 5-star reviews come out, having customers or, homeowners post in there. Everybody's got a HOA Facebook group. So, posting like, hey, we had heroes come out here. They did a great job. They talked about having a mosquito deal for the 4th of July, what have you. You should call them and use us as a referral, those types of things. That's what's going to spread word of mouth in your area, while our marketing team will still be funneling your area with like digital marketing, that type of stuff.
And the typical owner, let's say you're in an area in the Midwest or so, you happen to start with the fertilization and landscaping or in irrigation. When do you make the decision? Is it typically based on season that you add on, or what makes someone decide to scale with a new service?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So, typically talking about the Midwest, we're going to open doors when it's probably closer into March. So, we have 2 times a year when it's most prominent to open doors with a lawn care company. And first is going to be
Hmm.
attending like that academy in January, February, so that you are opening doors right as spring has sprung so that you can get onto those properties and really
Hmm.
fertilize the yard, or moving past that and kind of leaning heavier beyond, when you're getting into the summer months, you're looking more at the irrigation side effects of everything. Are we watering too much? Are we not watering enough? That's where irrigation comes in. And so with irrigation, we'll usually launch landscape at the same time just because they go kind of hand in hand. And again, we want those bigger
Hmm.
price pointed jobs to accompany irrigation, which is kind of a lower price pointed service. And so if you can kind of marry the two, it makes sense. Now, we will say chances are if you're always hunting elephants, you're probably going to starve. And so that's where we would consider landscaping to be the elephants. That's why we build up the reoccurring revenue with those memberships and then have the landscaping kind of be that cherry on top. Now, if you we encourage market research in your specific area. And so if you are calling one company to come out and do all the things that heroes could do, you'd probably have to set 4 or 5 different appointments with 4 or 5 different companies, who's going to call you back, those types of things. That's where Heroes can come on the property and be a one-stop shop. So if you're already on there for fertilization and you notice that you have a sprinkler head that's out or watering everywhere, who's the first team that you're going to call? Or the people that are on your property every month? Heroes, they know you, you've built that, camaraderie with them. They're going to be the first person you call. So that's what we try to help build up with our franchisees, is be their trusted support there for that kind of those types of things.
That's great. What's the typical investment for a new franchisee?
Absolutely. So we've done some adjusting here in 2026 with our initial investment. So we've actually taken it down even more so, which is incredible. So we're giving the option for entrepreneurship to more. And so if you're going in at one territory, so we are open to servicing one single territory, which is about 200,000 in population. Our initial investment now is 10% of population. So that's $20,000. So your territory fee for one territory is about $20,000. So when put all the line items in with, the equipment and all those types of vehicles, those types of things, for one territory, it's $119,000. Now, if you're looking at more of servicing over 1 million people, so 5 territories for us, it's actually going to be at $255,000. That's initial
Fantastic.
investment plus 3 months of operation. So when I touch on those things with my candidates through our unit economics phone call, we will really touch on each individual line item, where it's coming from, where it's going. But even more so than that, I really try to encourage my candidates to really not just focus on the first 3 months. That's the honeymoon phase. That's when everything is so fun and exciting and new. Let's build it out for a year so we can really see what this is going to cost us for a year. And if we're utilizing SBA or ROBS, HELOC, those types of things, how can we make it,
Mhm.
stretch for a year rather than those 3 months? Like, we don't want you to be under invest or underfunded. And so that's where we see the struggles happening. And so I really want to have a transparent conversation during that unit economics call.
That's wonderful. I mean, yeah, I think that's such a healthy way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Great overall investment for those 3 months. But yeah, I love the idea of looking at that. You mentioned earlier on that the preferred ownership model is that semi-involved or the hiring a manager. Can you walk through why that tends to work better for you with
Yeah.
a
So
franchisee?
so our preferred is for all of horsepower is really going to be that owner operator model, just
Hmm.
because they tend to get their investment back quicker because they don't have to cover the cost of a W-2 for a manager. However, like I said, I have validators on both sides and they can really speak to, what they're paying their GM. Some of them will answer that question, others will give a range, but we really just want to paint the picture with honesty and transparency, because getting into a business is not easy. This is not passive income. This is, you are in it to win it. And hopefully, whatever your why is through horsepower, we say we want to help entrepreneurs achieve their why. So on my initial calls, I will talk directly with my candidates and ask them what that why is. And then we start to peel back the onion and really dive deeper into how can Heroes help them achieve their why. And so I think it's really important to have honesty and transparency in conversations. I feel like from my recruiting side, maybe that has been more of a pivotal aspect of mine, and really just developing that relationship with them, because I want to know about their kids. I want to know about, vacations that they have coming up, or what's brought them to me. Why do they want to get out of the rat race of a W-2? Or are they trying to leave something for their kids for the future? I want to understand that, because then we can start talking about what does Heroes look like for them 5, 10 plus years. Maybe they're just getting into business ownership so that they can, you know, have it be super successful and then sell it off for millions and millions. Like, I would love to be a part of that. And so if that's their why, we want to help them achieve that.
In terms of uh, you talked about the first 90 days being more I guess what's that after that first year? Or what are some of the bigger challenges that people should think about when they're going to get into
Absolutely.
business?
I do, like I said, I think it's about funding. Right now, it's more important than ever to start having those funding
Hmm.
conversations earlier because, if you're going SBA, because it's government regulated, like there's a lot of hoops to go through. And they've even done more updates to the SBA process more this year than what they've ever done in years before. And so just being able to go to the conversation, maybe even with like a pre-approval letter. So you know what you can afford. Now let the director kind of construct a territory around that number. So that way, again, you're not underfunded and having to pull money out of your pocket because I think that's where people get most frustrated is they get down the road and having to pull money like out of their cash pocket and that's never fun for anyone. And so unless you're self-funded, but in that regard you understand it. So I think first and foremost it's about having those types of conversations as in alignment with having conversations with franchisors and directors because having those two things match up is really going to drive the conversation. And you don't want to ever try on a wedding dress that's out of your price point, like because you're going to fall in love with it. So focusing on your like what you can afford, what makes sense for you and your family. But then, with Heroes specifically, and I can really speak for all of Horsepower, we have Mighty Dog Roofings in a lot of places. We have 9 different brands within Horsepower, and so the chances of having another HPV brand in your area is going to be probable. And so you just get the
Yeah.
ability to connect with somebody who's kind of under the same umbrella, but not a direct competitor because they're not another Heroes. However, I would say our Heroes teams even compete because we don't have them sell in each other's territories. So they're just more of a friendly competition rather than like direct competition. They can really say, we tried this in our Florida market and we're looking at a Florida area, another growth opportunity there. So there is power in having people who are in the same realm as you. And I think that's what really sets us apart.
How does an owner get into some of the like commercial work as well?
Absolutely. So, I mean, in an ideal world, we will first have our franchisees really build up that reoccurring revenue through residential, just because that's where they're
Hmm.
making the most connections, like within their community. However, if you're, servicing a doctor and he has his own practice, there could be potential for you to service his location specifically, but also keeping in mind like apartments or, property management groups. Like
Hmm.
we consider those commercial spaces. We have another gentleman that they just won a pretty big deal in Arizona with Dollar General. And so now they're servicing 5 Dollar Generals within that area to help keep the area upright. And so those are types of partnerships that you would get with Z partnerships through Horsepower. We will help you kind of build up that partnership. It could be more localized like the Arizona location, or we have bigger partnerships through Horsepower that are like with Lowe's, Home Depot, those types of things. So it can be as little and
Yeah.
localized or as big as you want it to be. But ultimately, we do service both residential and commercial. But again, that just comes down to growth and scalability. We want to be more effective and efficient with how you're growing so that it's not everything all at once. It's overwhelming. We got to hire 5 different W-2s. Now you're upside down in just payroll itself. So again, it's about being thoughtful and intentional. And through our brand team, with their like extensive experience both in lawn care and franchising, they can really help guide our franchisees. But ultimately, Heroes hangs our hat on flexibility. So we give our franchisees, it's not just black and white like a lot of other franchises. We give them options because you are a business owner. You get to make a decision for you. Now we have vetted vendors that we can suggest, But also, if you want us to vet a more local vendor for, landscaping, for instance, like a local nursery, our brand team will absolutely go and vet them and make sure that they're a right partner for you.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, unbelievable support. That's why I try to remind people when they're looking at these franchises that after day one, you've got someone on your side all the time and trying to pay to do that all yourself or just think about. So, what top separates the top performers, the people that are really performing well? What are they doing typically?
Absolutely. So, if you kind of look at our FDD now, it represents from April of 2024 previous. And so we only have locations that have been open for a year or more in our FDD. So our current FDD has 12 locations. We will have 20 locations in our upcoming FDD. And I would say what separates them from the bottom of the pack is going to be focusing on that reoccurring revenue, but also keeping in mind to leverage, that landscaping job as well. So those three things alone are going to help you be really successful. But it's also going to be coming down to horsepower and heroes. We are an EOS system. We are a data driven company. And so, really, every day logging into your dashboard, seeing where you fall within the heroes, group, you never want to be at the bottom. So, we operate on like a green, yellow, and red system. Green is good, yellow is warning, and red means full stop. We got to make some changes. And so, how do you leverage the technology that we have with, Rilla's like our sales coaching tool? So if you're
Yeah,
able to leverage the technology that we offer, that's what really starts setting us apart from the top, middle, and bottom performers.
got it. No, fantastic. And that technology is beyond impressive.
Absolutely. I will also say, like, all of horsepower went through a lengthy like business planning session. So while we did it on a full scope of horsepower, then it got broken down into each brand. Then brands started meeting with each individual franchisee multiple times to not only create a business plan, but to follow up and make sure that it checks out. The math is mathing and then following up on it. So every single brand has like a goal of percentage of franchisees that they get utilizing this workbook for business planning, and then it just sets them
Great.
up for success. So we're ever growing, which is great, but it's really, again, thoughtful and intentional.
I think that hits the nail on the head or behind, with horsepower behind you, and then getting into the right niche. And while everybody might not think of, lawn care as their niche, yeah, there's so much potential, so much potential. Anything else
Well,
that
what do they
you would
say? If
like
you
to
don't
bring up?
you don't plan, you plan to fail or something? Isn't that like a
Mm,
saying?
Fail
So,
plan, you plan, yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah. No, it's true. It's true. And that takes work as you're, being
absolutely.
forthright about that. Anything else that you would like viewers to know about?
I mean, the chances of us having an open territory in their location is probably high. And so, reaching out to you to get with me onto the books to kind of chat a little bit more about the opportunity. I'm always open to chatting. I mean, who wouldn't want six different revenue streams, reoccurring
Right?
revenue, and the opportunity for growth and scalability? It just makes sense. So everybody needs a hero.
I love that. Thank you so much, Nikki. I really enjoyed this. This has
Yes.
been very helpful.
Yeah, thank
All
you
right.
so
Take
much,
care.
Laura. Yeah, you too. We'll see ya.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Okay.